All right, everybody. I know this is kind of random, but basically, I was bored, and there's a little bit of Browns news to talk about here. So, basically, what we're gonna do, I don't know how long we'll go, but the general outline, we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about Wyatt Teller, his extension. We're gonna talk about some of the COVID news with Nick Chubb being out for Sunday. Possibly where will Odell Beckham land? But aside from all that, I mean, there's not really any direction we're going to go here. Like I said, I was just bored and wanted to talk. So here we are. So, Tony, can you hear us now? I don't think he can. Whatever.
Calling all Tonys.
Yep, he just jumped off. I'll add him if he gets back on. But anyway, so Wyatt Teller extended today. 14.2 mil per year. For a 4-year contract. I think this was a good decision. I mean, Andrew Berry didn't bring Wyatt Teller here, but he was the one who made the decision to keep him here, and I think that's a good thing. Um, John
Well,
Dorsey, man,
I think that also came from Bill Callahan.
yeah, yeah, I think,
So
yeah, because I heard today, Callahan. I don't know how true this is, but allegedly Callahan really wanted to draft Wyatt Teller wherever he was at the time. So he's
he
always
was in
liked him.
Washington.
Washington, okay. But yeah, I mean, for John Dorsey to turn a 5th round pick trade for Wyatt Teller into what he's become, I think for all the crap we give Dorsey, I think this was a pretty incredible move, given what he's turned into. As I was saying before, I mean, we went into the season last year not knowing if who was going to be the starter at right guard, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Wyatt Teller becomes one of the best in the NFL. So, Tony, can you hear us now?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
There we
Yeah.
are.
There we
So,
go. Sorry, I'm in my car, so it's kind
Oh,
of.
no, you're
well,
good.
sorry.
Hey, I was just saying, basically what we're doing here, I'm bored and I wanted to talk, so we're just gonna kind of talk about Teller, talk about the Browns game Sunday, OBJ landing spots, and wherever else.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what we talk about. So,
Apparently, how they're playing Dearness Johnson and Moohead as running backs on Sunday. At this
yeah,
point,
pretty much. Yeah, right here. Dorsey has his moments and then he'll hit some duds. I mean, man, Dorsey really hit. If you look at it, Dorsey brought in Baker. Um, who else did he bring in? Denzel Ward that year, Chubb. But aside from that, I mean, Corbett and Callaway. I understand Callaway, but I mean,
Who was the defensive end? Chad Thomas or something like that?
yeah, Chad Thomas, Jannard Avery. I mean, he's had some big hits, but I think my problem with Dorsey was he swung for the fences every time, and he really did miss some. But he hit a couple. So
It's the Rob Deere thing. Either he's going to strike out and look terrible, or he's going to hit a 500-foot bomb.
yeah, and I thought it was interesting because with him in Detroit, I thought that maybe he would take a flyer on Odell, but since he's not the decision maker, um, that's how it ended up. But I guess in general, Brian, what do you think about this extension for Wyatt Teller today?
It was a little surprising how quickly, it's something that they could have done after the season, but doing it now in the middle of the turmoil, it gives the team some positive outlook on things and less of this hangover from the Beckham debacle.
Yeah. Tony, did you see that Wyatt Teller was extended?
I did.
What did you
I
think
like
about
it.
it?
I think I like it. It needed to be done. They always say in the NFL, there's one thing you will definitely win with, and that's a good offensive line. And right now, the Browns have probably the best offensive line when healthy in the league. You know, um, so you have to keep those if you guys want to be successful. Anything long term, you got to keep your offensive line intact, and and he's played like he's earned the money. So why the hell not?
Yeah, he became the second highest paid guard in history. I want to say behind Quentin Nelson, maybe. Um, but yeah, I mean, Wyatt Teller, like I said, for somebody who was brought in and wasn't quite sure who was going to get the start at right guard, we talked about Chris Hubbard. Hey, maybe he can go from a swing tackle to your starting guard. Drew Forbes, we were talking about at that time. And he really took his opportunity and ran with it, man. I think honestly, I feel like it's a really good example for some of these younger guys. Maybe I don't want to say Felton necessarily because he's not going to play this Sunday, but guys like that who are brought in, not exactly expected to do a whole lot. Once you get your opportunity, if you take it and you believe in yourself and you're that good, I mean, you might end up becoming a big part of this. So yeah, I think we're all pretty happy with Wyatt Teller getting extended. Obviously, Tony's a Vikings fan, but still,
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
a
it was a good
Browns.
decision.
The Browns are my number 2 team, so the Vikings will always be a favorite for me, being from Minnesota and living here. But over the 16 years I've watched the Browns, you've developed a love relationship with them, and happy they're doing good. So
Yeah, Brian, is that your TV?
Yeah, that's why I was having a flip back and forth between muting and unmuting. So
Oh,
nothing I can do about the background noise. Sorry.
sorry. No, you're good. Um, hey, Cleveland Pulse guy is in the chat here. Dorsey Arrow was interesting. OBJ on one hand, Wyatt Teller on the other hand. That's exactly it. Hey, and by the way, guys, if you want to jump on, go ahead. Feel free. It's in the description. So, but yeah, I guess we'll kind of end things there on Wyatt Teller. The game Sunday with Nick Chubb being out and Demetric Felton being out, and obviously Hunt is injured. I feel like they should put Dearness
And
Johnson.
John Kelly is also not available.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw they added a running back to the practice squad. I don't know if they'll bring him up for the game. I really wonder what their plan is there going forward.
Probably Johnny Stanton will be the backup.
That's true. It's a good point. I didn't think about him.
who do they play on Sunday?
Patriots.
The Patriots in Boston.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the mean road stretch.
Well, and we're also barreling down. It's only Tuesday. I mean, who knows how many more COVID? If Chubb and Felton were COVID positive, was Felton in the wide receiver room too?
Yes, and there was somebody in the wide receiver room who also tested positive.
And then was Chubb? Were these guys around Baker?
Yeah, who knows?
I don't think
we're not
so.
out of the woods with this COVID shit yet, so who knows?
Well, and because because everybody's vaccinated, they're all getting the fucking Delta.
Oh yeah. Hey, we added.
That's the other thing.
We added Jeff here from the Cleveland Pulse, friends of
what's up, fellas?
Here.
What's going on?
Doing?
This is neat that I've never seen this before with StreamYard. You could just join straight up. That's sick.
Yeah, I'm having problems with my Adobe Premiere. For whatever reason, it's not working. So I was just going to do a video talking about more of the Teller stuff. And I thought, well, why not? I'll just jump on and do a stream and we can talk about it and have comments up and all that. But Jeff, what'd you think of the news this morning of Wyatt Teller being extended? Some of that Odell Beckham money being used for somebody who's actually worth it, in my opinion.
Oh, I loved it. I've been telling Justin since the offseason that we should just give him a blank check. I do understand waiting to, see if he could reproduce what he did last year. But with Conklin on the right side of him and with Callahan as the coach, I mean, that's a nasty duo right there. And he is utilized so well by Stefanski between pulling across the line of scrimmage, getting out into space. It's just he's so dynamic. So I absolutely love the move.
I think it's one of these things, we always love watching highlights, right? Everybody wants to watch the big throws or the receiver highlights. But man, nothing is more entertaining to me than seeing a Wyatt Teller pancake just obliterating. I mean, I watched that Tyrann Mathieu pancake last year from the playoffs. I can't even tell you how many times. So, yeah, I mean, we talked about it. I think we're all happy. And another thing is Wyatt Teller, and we talked about this. I can't remember where, if it was Moo's show, Brian, or mine. I don't even remember. But the Nick Chubb kind of guys, the guys who just come to work, put their heads down. Wyatt Teller is one of those guys. And I think the offensive line, you have to have that mentality because you got to play as a group. So,
just overlooked guys too. We were talking about that in our upload today. Nick Chubb was basically the third, that people were deeming him the third best running back in that Georgia class. And that was accurate. But I mean, you see the NFL careers. Todd Gurley, one hit wonder. Sony Michel, was drafted before Nick Chubb, and he's been moved around already to 2 different teams. And the only one with the extension is Nick Chubb, similar with Wyatt Teller. The Bills basically gave up on him 2 years ago. He's someone that they could really use right now, where their offensive line is probably the biggest question mark of that roster over there. And Dorsey goes and basically steals them.
no kidding.
And the interesting thing is Herschel Walker was highest on Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
When he was at Georgia, Herschel Walker was the highest, had the most praise for Nick Chubb out of the 3 guys.
Yeah, man, that was such a steal. Because if you remember that draft, it was who was it? Was Ronald Jones in that draft? There was a couple of them, and I don't even think Chubb was the top of my list on running backs I wanted. And obviously, in hindsight, that was stupid.
Well, because
of me to say
Saquon
that,
Barkley was in that draft.
Yeah, and if you'll remember, there was people saying, "Man, the Browns are going to take Barkley at 1 and then the quarterback at 4," and it's like, man, thank God we didn't do that, because look where we're at now. Nick Chubb, top of the 2nd round.
Well, and that was one of my jokes on Moohead was, it'd be interesting to see them take Saquon Barkley at 1 and then take like Lamar Jackson at 4.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Barkley was could stay healthy, but he can't. So, but addressing this comment here, Brian Goody said, would it make sense to sign, I think he meant Brashard Perriman, since Baker had chemistry with him in 2018. Bears just released him. Yes, the Bears did release him, but he signed with the Bucks, unfortunately. That was somebody that, with the release of Odell Beckham.
And he went back to Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really hoping he would come back, but it happens.
But when he was with Tampa Bay, they had fucking Jameis Winston, the interception king.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think honestly at this point in his career, he's probably thinking, where can I go, kind of stay in the mid to bottom part of that roster and try to win a ring. So, I mean, I don't blame him for going back to the Bucks, but if he wanted to be used and probably get the most production, I know this is not a production wide receiver room, but just like how Donovan had, a couple big time catches for one was a touchdown, the other was a big time catch, get you down towards the red zone. I feel like Perriman could have had a similar impact, maybe taken over for some of Schwartz's role there. So Sunday with we talked a little bit about it, but Jeff, with Chubb out and with Dietrich Felton out, the offense is built around the run game. Brian talked about having Janovich as the 2nd string running back, even though he's a fullback. What do you think this offense is going to look like as far as the game plan standpoint of things going against Belichick?
It might look ugly. I'm not going to lie. I'm hoping that it's Tuesday. So Chubb being vaccinated, I think that this is the rare opportunity where you see a lot of these positives come out like Thursday, and it's basically impossible to get 2 negatives with 24 hours in between on Thursday. There's an inside shot that he could play. I think it's still, less than 50% chance. But if he does not play, which I hate that I'm about to say this, because I don't think that either of their body styles really make sense to do this, but we saw it this last week. We've seen Kevin Stefanski hand the ball off to Jarvis. I don't love that idea as far as, how his body's been the past 2 years, but I think that
no, his knee is shot right now.
We might see a handoff or two to him. I wouldn't mind pitching the ball to Anthony Schwartz, but he can't
Yeah,
be
I was
getting
just about
hit
to say.
in the
I think
open field.
Schwartz.
He's too small to be getting hit.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna try to incorporate more of that wide receiver. I don't know if you want to call it a fake sweep, but I'm expecting them to use a lot of motions with that, kind of like how we see Felton um, motion
With
into the
that, yeah,
backfield.
with that
Yeah,
Tyreek Hill,
yeah.
LA Rams bullshit. Yeah.
I'm expecting to see some of that using guys like Schwartz. Um, But I tell you what, I just watched the quarterback school, I believe is his YouTube channel. And for anybody who happens to watch this live or after, please,
Oh,
please,
isn't
please
that
go check.
Dan Orlovsky? Oh no,
No,
no, that's the other guy. That was
he's
the
not
backup
a
quarterback.
big time media guy, but when I tell you he does a fantastic job breaking down these quarterbacks, go watch he did a video talking about Baker from Sunday. And even though there wasn't a whole lot of throws, he broke down just the little things, what Baker's seeing, the timing. And I mean, when we talk about, okay, what made Baker the number one overall pick, the stuff he breaks down there, man, some of the windows he threw in, I highly recommend go watching that, especially the throw to Felton blows my mind because when I saw that in the game, I just sat there and went, how did he get the ball in that window? And, when you watch somebody who knows what they're talking about break that down, unbelievable. Um, so as far as this Patriots game, I think it's going to be a very, very big test on Baker as far as, okay, this is your team now. Not that it wasn't before, but this is officially your team now. You don't have the dominant run game. So we'll see. Belichick does some crazy things. Obviously, Baker's not a rookie quarterback. He knows what he's doing, but I think this will be a good test on Kevin Stefanski. What do you guys think as far as Baker for Sunday? How do you think they're going to try to keep things? I don't know if easy is the way to say it, but try to get the most production out of this offense.
I think I did like what I saw from Baker Sunday, and it just shows how much of a psychological. It doesn't make any sense, only optically can I explain it. But Sunday against the Bengals was the first time since the Chiefs game. Coincidentally, OBJ not on the field then either, where I didn't see the happy feet,
Yep.
pump faking with the football. Baker Mayfield standing in the pocket. He had 14 completions. If my memory serves me correct, like 4 or 5 of those completions, he got hit at the end of them. He's going to have to stand in the pocket and take hits the rest of the year if we want to be successful. That sets up all the big plays, all the more creative Kevin Stefanski routes. But I'm a little bit nervous about playing Bill Belichick because he knows the stats. He knows, which I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's like 1-8 Baker is when the Browns don't have 100 yards on the ground rushing. So Bill Belichick knows that, but I'm hoping that he's looking at the Bengals tape and he saw us get away from the bubble screens to the tight ends, leaking running backs out into the flat and stuff like that. And I'm hoping Kevin Stefanski, the first 15 plays of the game are relatively easy throws to guys in space where we have guards pulling like we've seen basically every week except for the Bengals game.
Brian, what do you think?
Well, I was just looking at the questions, and sorry, Brian, I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah,
on,
I don't
when
either.
when those guys are coming back because Kareem's ankle was really fucked up.
Yeah. And I think people got to understand there's a difference between eligible to return and physically able to return. They're going to be eligible to return if that's your question. But as far as when will you see them on the field, I don't think for a while. I think, and one thing Moose said was possibly after the bye, which would be in a couple weeks. Maybe, I think it's kind of fingers crossed thing. But yeah. So, yeah, I don't know on those two. But Brian, as far as the offensive game plan, as far as Baker, what do you think the pass game's going to look like in particular? Because I'm kind of interested to see that side of things.
It depends on the coverages because Belichick will flip from man to zone. He'll play man on one third of the field and zone the other 2/3. So it's always bizarre how he comes up with these different things, and somehow it fucking works.
Yeah.
And so I think you're going to see a little more man coverage because they'll be able to squat. They've been squatting down on the short patterns with the overemphasis on the dink and dunk stuff, trying to pass for first downs and that kind of thing. Try to get the 6 to 8 yard completions, and then but with the long passes that he had a 24-yarder to Nick Chubb. He had the 60-yard bomb to
DPJ.
Sorry, had a cat trying to sit on the keyboard. And so it's with those deep passes, and they were left side, middle, right side.
Yep.
So they'll find this. They can find the open spots in your zone or in your coverage breakdowns.
Yeah. Added Jaden to the stream here. We already talked about Wyatt Teller a little bit, but Jaden, what did you think about the news this morning about Wyatt Teller being extended?
I was I'm happy with the news. I just hope that we're gonna have cap moving forward. That was my biggest thing. But I expect we'll have cap room. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm glad we did. He's an exceptional guard, and I think he'll be a long time Cleveland Brown for sure.
Yeah, and I think the thing there is, remember, the cap's going to go up. So, yeah, 14.2 mil per year probably doesn't look great, but again, it's kind of the same thing. And Jeff, I know we've talked about it plenty, but with Baker, whatever number he ends up getting down the line here in a year or two, probably more side of the 2 year, as far as the time, but it'll start to look better. It's kind of the same thing we've seen with some of these quarterback contracts. You look at a guy like Russell Wilson. I believe I might have to look this up, but if I'm not mistaken, Russell's in kind of the mid 30s right now.
35, I believe. He's like fifth highest. But
yeah,
so the thing with these contracts, though, real quick, is that I think it's doing two things, and the cap is going up, but I think it's, we're paying guys that have been reliable and consistent, and we're paying guys appropriately. So it's like Nick Chubb, you can make an argument he's a top 3, running back. He gets less than top 3 running back money. I think Wyatt Teller is for sure a top 3 right guard, and he gets in that money too. But it's sending a message to other players, Denzel Ward, who are you going to stay on the field, for a full season? Ronnie Harrison on a contract year, and Baker Mayfield, we're paying guys to market value. We're not going to pay you top 3 money if you're not top 3 at your position. At least that's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this comment, I've had it up for a minute here. Wish we had Lecount out there, have trust issues with Ronnie Harrison. I agree. Ronnie Harrison has been a guy that when we got him, I was pretty excited because I like him. And I think even going back to Alabama, because I'm such a big college guy, I've always known of him, and I've always watched him a little bit. Didn't really know how his NFL career was going, but he comes to Cleveland. I think he's been a little bit up and down. I don't think he's been horrible, but Richard Lecount, man, coming out of Georgia, he was a guy that slipped that because of this whole speed thing. And if you'll remember, he had an accident, I believe, an ATV accident. He, to me, could have been picked a lot higher. He's one of these Georgia backs that are always productive, but you never really hear about him. And as far as Lecount being out there, I'm kind of surprised they don't have him out there a little bit more because of the whole preseason success that he's had. And with camp, I figured they would trust him a little bit more. But yeah, Ronnie Harrison, I don't know. And he's in a contract year and he's doing this stupid stuff. Why are you hitting Najee Harris when he's been out of bounds for a solid 10 seconds? Like, That's not stuff you do if you want to get a contract. So anybody can take this. What do you guys think about this whole Lecount versus Harrison thing, and what do you see for Harrison long term?
Lecount, go ahead.
I th- they're probably keeping him off the field for a reason. There's got to be some lingering issues with his injury that happened. I think he aggravated it in mini camp. I want to
Didn't
say
he have an Achilles or a calf, something like that?
he had some kind of a leg issue.
Yeah.
But prior to the preseason games, and then you never really saw him in the preseason. In fact, I don't think he played in any of the 3 games.
Yeah, he did. He had a pick to seal. I forget which one of the games it was. He played a little bit in the preseason, not a whole lot, but yeah.
I would like to add something to his. One second, let me mute my mic.
Uh-oh.
This is a hot take real quick just to jump in, but after the Steelers game and the Najee play, this was before OBJ. Well, John Johnson got hurt that game. I was mostly emotional, but I was so mad at Ronnie Harrison for that play that I was ready to, because he hasn't really done anything for us all year. He pushes the Kansas City coach. I was ready to cut him after the Steelers game. It would have been a hot take, and I don't think he's getting another contract with us, but that's just me.
I wasn't.
So, go ahead, Dave. Okay. All right. So my thing on Lecount is like AJ Green last year comes in as a low pick. Even whenever our depth at corner last year was awful, you never saw him on the field. I think you're going to see a lot of that this year with Lecount. I think Joe Woods favors seniority over anything, if I'm being honest.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm a
you
little
could be right there.
concerned because Lecount, he was out last week due to discipline problems.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
So what was that? What's that all about? Like,
Yeah.
it's not good if you're having off the field discipline issues.
Yeah, but Jeff, to your point,
Then he was probably late to a meeting or something like that.
yeah, because I feel like we would hear about it, but yeah, but anyway, Jeff, to your point, the whole shoving the coach thing, I don't really fault him a whole lot for that, because
he got shoved first.
Yeah,
there is no reason for that guy to act that way in that moment.
Yeah. So, I mean, I understand he's got to be a little bit calmer, but to be honest, I mean, if that was me, I probably would have done the same thing if I'm being honest. But as far as his contract goes, unless he's willing to sign a small deal, which, I don't know on that answer. I can't give you an answer there. But I don't see him being here long term, if I'm being completely honest. So, yeah, I don't know as far as that goes.
Especially with the depth that we have, like we don't have a ton of depth, but especially with the people that we have at safety, like you still have Lecount, Delpit, John Johnson's locked up for at least 3 years.
Yeah, he signed a 4-year deal, I believe.
So yeah, you have plenty of people back there. I think that this is probably, unless Ronnie Harrison takes like a cheap Rashard Higgins type deal, it's probably his last year.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. What do we think about Rashard Higgins? Because Sunday, he did not play at all. And, he liked Odell Beckham Sr.'s post, and then he unliked it. And people were calling him out on Twitter about it. And then Sunday, and this is one thing we talked about on Moohead Radio, there was a touchdown. What was it? It was the Nick Chubb run. Baker walks off to the sideline. Everybody's celebrating. Higgins comes up to him, smiley, happy, hits him in the chest, whatever. And Baker just gave him a stone cold face of, I hate you. So I really wonder if there's some bad blood there between them two, because as I've said many times, Baker Mayfield is and has always been the kind of guy that if you screw him, he's done with you. Like, it's very hard, or at least, I mean, I don't know him personally, again, but based on what we've seen, seems like the kind of guy to me that if you do something to him, he's not exactly the most forgiving person, which I understand. I'm the same way to an extent. But what do you guys think about Rashard Higgins' future here in Cleveland? Do you think he's going to stay around? Because I was kind of surprised that given OBJ's absence, that he wasn't going to see the field, or I thought he would see the field more, and then he was maybe, 2-3 snaps. So what do you guys think about Rashard Higgins' future here in Cleveland?
It's going to be about as long as Cardero Hodges.
Oof, yeah. Well, I wish
He'll be
we could
gone.
have him back. Jeff,
There ain't
what do
no
you
doubt
think?
in my mind.
It'll probably be it's going to be an unfortunate ending because, if I'm not mistaken, he's the first Browns wide receiver that we've given a contract extension to in the last, since the 90s, I think, was the stat going into the last offseason.
Well, Jarvis, when he was traded here, got an extension, but I think that's a little bit
Yeah, or maybe it was somebody we drafted him, right? Maybe it was someone we
Yeah.
drafted. It was the first drafted wide receiver that we extended, something like that. But I think Rashard Higgins really embodies the bigger issue for the team that has been the disappointing factor to me. If you take away the win-loss columns and you really look at, you got all these people on contract years, which until this last week, you lock up Nick Chubb in the offseason. Okay, perfect. Wyatt Teller was playing to par, what we expected him to be. He gets extended. Baker gets hurt, unlucky, probably behind the 8 ball because of an injury, albeit non-throwing arm. I think that Denzel, who has played well, we haven't seen his impact on the stat sheet, besides this Bengals game. And then just like we were talking about, Ronnie Harrison with the contract year, you're expecting him to play some of the best football of his career. So I think we were just expecting more from individual players like Rashard Higgins, to contribute to the whole, especially when we saw him last year, being an integral part of that Kansas City playoff game. So I think we'll probably draft wide receiver talent. So unless he's willing to stick around for the similar figure that we got him for this year, I think he'll probably be gone, which will be sad because I've always liked the guy.
Going back to the Ronnie Harrison thing, I also think that this is going to be a very deep class for safeties.
Yeah. It's it's deep at safety. And to your point, Jeff, about drafting receiver, I've been banging the table for this for so long. I can't even remember how long. I mean, it seems like every year I'm sitting here saying this receiving core is deep. Go get you one. And yes, DPJ, I know, and everybody knows I've been banging the table on him as well. But I think that now it's to the point where I don't think the Browns need a necessarily number one receiver. I think they just need a group of guys that contribute well as a whole, as a wide receiver room. This draft, real quick, I mean, literally, I'll just go through the names. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Burks out of Arkansas is a good receiver. London out of USC. Jamison Williams transferred from Ohio State to Alabama. He'll be a guy who you'll be able to get probably late second, early third. He'll probably slip some. Jahan Dotson. There's a guy out of Pitt that my friend keeps talking about, and I checked up on him a little bit. He's a good receiver. This receiving core this year is unbelievable. And I know we say that every year. And yes, last year was great. Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase. I know. But I think this year it's a bunch of good guys who aren't necessarily like great. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Because there's no receiver this year that's going to win the Heisman that's going to be in the draft, is what I'm saying. But the Browns, if you get any of the guys that I just named and you put them in this mix, and first of all, I think they have to fit the team personality wise, because I think the whole Baker OBJ thing has proven that if you're not willing to follow the system and be a guy who's going to be in the spot and run your route, then you're not going to fit with this team. Again, I think that's what it comes down to. But I 100% believe that the Browns should draft a receiver. If I was running things, if I had a seat next to Andrew Berry during the draft and it came to our pick, it would be receiver. I would say, hey, this is the guy you should get.
Derek, you want me to make you mad real quick?
Go ahead.
So this is going to be a hot take for sure, and I'm sure people will disagree. But with 2 tight end uncertainties. You got Njoku coming up, who's another guy that asked for a trade, then made it work. His agent was bad, whatever, but he's been a good asset.
Yeah,
And
didn't he fire his agent? I don't mean to cut you
yes,
off, but didn't he
no,
fire his agent?
yeah, he did it. He's on his second or even third agent. Plus, I think that
Third agent.
there's some lingerings. It's definitely more media based, but and I'm not sure how Andrew Berry feels about this. I think people are understanding that the Austin Hooper move was probably an overpay. So I think that if Hooper doesn't want to restructure, or if Njoku is asking for too much of an extension, and which is a lot of moving pieces, if one of those two things is happening and Olave and Wilson aren't there when we draft, we may draft a tight end before a wide receiver. Because I think this team, I think Stefanski wanted to carry 4 tight ends, and then Steven Carlson got hurt preseason, and then we couldn't. But I think this team needs 3 tight ends the way Stefanski operates.
Yes, they want to have 4 quality tight ends.
Yeah. To your point about Hooper, I mean, I feel so stupid. I made a video talking about Austin Hooper was going to be the difference maker on this offense. And I mean, the guy is a talented player, don't get me wrong. He is good, but I mean,
but again, you got to go back to the Minnesota when Stefanski was calling the Minnesota offense and had Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith. Tony, you can speak to this, where combined they equaled what the production was at of Austin Hooper in Atlanta, where he was strictly the number one and only, well, really the only tight end that was playing and the only one that was running routes. So when you divide up the 80 catches between 3 guys, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Right.
And
you're looking at a different game. The style of tight end play these days is gravitating towards the George Kittles, the Dawson Knoxes, the TJ Hawkinsons, the Travis Kelce's. Hooper, his gameplay is not that. And so that's where he's limited. And I think that's where the Browns need to upgrade. They need a tight end.
In a pass-heavy offense like Atlanta, he was averaging 80 catches a season. Now he's getting like 40. And that's what I'm saying. His production is always going to be halved. The receiver production is always going to be halved compared to the rest of the fucking league.
How much
because of the style of offense?
How much of that, though, was they had a great receiving core in Atlanta. They had Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage, and they just
Mohamed Sanu caught a lot of passes down there.
Yeah. And they're playing in domes.
Yeah, domes are a big thing too.
But the Kyle Rudolph point's interesting though, because if I'm not mistaken, he might have had a couple lingering injuries, but he leaves Stefanski. You never heard of him. I haven't heard of him since he's been a Stefanski offense. I think Stefanski probably likes Hooper because I think they've really toned in his blocking that probably was not there in Atlanta. And if you have 3 tight ends that are good at blocking, I mean, we have a jumbo set out there like half the game, because if we run 2 tight ends, even 1 tight end, it's like having an adjunct offensive lineman out there.
Yeah, and I feel like, honestly, this is what makes me trust Andrew Berry, because you see him reallocate the funds of Odell Beckham to somebody in Wyatt Teller, who we need to keep around. I feel like Andrew Berry is going to accept the fact that he, I don't want to say messed up with Austin Hooper, but I think we can all agree overpaid, at the very least, overpaid. So I think that you might see this offseason us move off of him. I don't know what contractual wise he has left, but at $10 million per year for a tight end who is going to do what Austin Hooper does, I would feel much more comfortable. And guys, correct me if I'm wrong here. I would feel much more comfortable paying David Njoku to stay around, given what I mean. Sunday, look at that play. Baker stepped up into the pocket and ripped a dart into David Njoku, and he caught it. He has improved every single year that he's been in Cleveland, and I feel like it's to the point now where I would feel much more comfortable keeping David around, and I think he would be willing to stay around in Cleveland, especially given the fact that he fired his agent because he wanted him out of Cleveland. So I think David will stick around. I would move off of Hooper, keep David around. Harrison Bryant, I believe in. I think he's going to be a good tight end. I think he's just got to develop. Coming out of FAU, that's it's just the reality with some of these small school guys. It takes time, but I think the Browns probably will draft a tight end. And we'll see. But yeah,
The Stephen Carlson loss also hurt them on special teams too.
Yes.
Yeah, and Carlson is a guy who you will probably see stick around as well. As far as next year once he gets back healthy. So, yeah.
And he's a very good number 4 because he's got more of the receiving tight end body.
Yeah. And there's tight ends in this draft that I feel like it's not a heavy tight end draft as far as you don't have your Kyle Pitts, Pat Freiermuth in this draft. But, a guy out of a
pretty damn good, though.
Yeah, I was just going to say a guy out of Ohio State, Jeremy Ruckert, guy who's been there for a long time. A good team guy that's pretty reliable. I mean, we've seen that over his career at Ohio State. He's
played in major games.
Yes, big
against
time
major against Clemson and Alabama. So,
and I don't know where I don't know where his draft status is, to be honest with you. I could see him being a mid to high second round pick, and I could also see him maybe slip to the bottom of the second round, top of the third. And I think kind of in the Harrison Bryant thing, they didn't necessarily want to draft a tight end. It was just the value was there. So, I mean, if they feel like...
Well, and he was a Mackey Award winning guy. Yeah. It wasn't just, well, we're just going to draft this guy out of, Timbuktu State because reasons. They were picking a guy with actually some solid credentials behind his ability.
So, staying on this kind of conversation we've been having about the contracts, one thing I want to talk about, and we talked a little bit about in our last live stream here that went 3 hours. Malik McDowell, he signed a 1-year deal. Obviously, it was kind of a prove it thing for the Browns. And given the season he's had, you can't, in my opinion, you can't let that guy walk out the door. But to me, the question becomes, okay, what are they going to give a guy like Malik McDowell? Because I think the tandem of him and Jackson together have been very good. But to me, that's kind of the question that I don't have an answer to. I think he'll stay around, but what are they going to offer him to keep him from walking out the door? What do you guys think about that?
I mean, anywhere from 5 to 7 million, I'd say, depending. I mean, he doesn't make so much so far, but I mean, why not? I don't know. I feel like the front office should go up to him and say like something around the lines of, "Wow, you've exceeded our expectations." But I don't think we're ready to make a huge commitment yet. We'd like to see more, and go from there.
Jeff, what do you think about that?
I'm not too sure, really. I know that we took a flyer on him, but defensive line, man, another complete offseason headache. You got McKinley on a 1 year. You got Malik McDowell on a 1 year. You got Clowney making 11 mil this year on a 1 year.
Jackson as well.
Jackson's on a 1 year. Yeah, a lot of prove-its down there. I'm not certain that our defensive line is really that much improved from last year. I know that might not be received well, but I think Clowney has been worth it. I think Malik McDowell was off to a hot start and then has somewhat regressed. And I think Malik Jackson's similar. I don't think either of them were the Sheldon Richardson production of last year, who was, of course, asking too much. But I'm not really too sure. I mean, 5 to 7 sounds awfully high to me, but I wouldn't be surprised, with the 5 million if he's going to play. His PFF grade is only a 55.6 right now, and I'm not a PFF or die kind of guy. I think they grade the better skilled players appropriately. It's kind of tough for some of the mid-level players like a Malik McDowell, but I think his play was definitely a little bit better earlier in the year.
To me, I think he almost owes it to the organization for taking a chance on him, kind of giving him this second chance. Like, even if it is another 1-year deal, and I know I get sick of these 1-year deals, but to me, like I said, I wouldn't let him walk out the door. And I'm glad you brought up Clowney and McKinley.
Well,
I
part of the
think,
reason that that Barry is so willing to do that is because he's looking at other teams' contract structures and who's going to be becoming a free agent and who can they try to go after that's maybe a little better than the guy that's on their team. As he put it, he will never be satisfied with the current roster of the Browns. He's always going to be looking to improve any way possible.
All right,
Yeah.
Derek, you want my opinion on Tack and Clowney?
sure, because that's where I was going next.
I think Tack is the future, but I think if you can keep Clowney around, keep him around. Because Tack is extremely, and I will say this forever, underrated. Every time I see him in the game, he's causing pressure of some sort. But I feel like he's some dude you got to keep around. I don't think he'll ask for too much money. I just think that he's definitely a dude. He's young too, and he was a first-round pick.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. Tack McKinley is 26 years old, former first-round pick of the Falcons.
Him and Miles came out of the same draft, I think, right?
Yep. Good work by you on that one. I think Clowney has brought great things to the Browns. I mean, in a perfect world, if you're playing Madden, you could turn the cap space off and pay anybody you want. That's the perfect world. That ain't how it works, unfortunately. But I completely agree with you. I would do everything in my power to try to keep those two around. But if you can't keep Clowney around, I think you have to keep Tack McKinley around because the Browns did not draft a defensive end this year. And the defensive end class coming up is a bit interesting. Kayvon Thibodeau will obviously be the first one. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like – sorry, Brian, I muted you. Your TV was getting a little loud. But I feel like that the Browns need to try to do their best to keep at least one of those two around. But honestly, I feel like going forward, you need to keep two of the three around between Tack McKinley, Jadeveon Clowney, and who's the other one? Malik McDowell. That's who I'm talking about. So,
Technically
yeah.
speaking, there's 4 if you count Malik Jackson.
Yeah, I think Malik Jackson is, in my opinion, replaceable given his age. But if he's
I
willing
agree.
to
I was just
sign
letting you know.
cheap, no, I agree. But yeah, so kind of wrapping this up here. We don't have to wrap up now, but just kind of hit my last topic here, and then we can go off the board. Whatever, I don't care. Odell Beckham has cleared waivers. Nobody wanted him at that price. Not surprising. But now he's
Again,
allegedly,
he most likely can't pass a physical.
yeah, and allegedly he's in talks with the Patriots, which would be ironic given the fact we play them this week. The Seahawks. I'll let you guys give your opinions here. But I just want to say this. I think that Odell Beckham Jr. is washed up. I will put my stamp on that. I think he's not the guy anymore. And I know people will be upset at that, but I think at this point he's an egotistical. I don't even know if I said that right, but he's a guy who only cares about himself. And I think that the injuries have added up. I think he's not the same guy. I think he knows that, but he's living off of his name. And I think, honestly, as great as that catch was against the Cowboys, that Sunday night game, I think honestly, it was one of the worst things to happen to him because now he's got this stamp on him that he is an elite receiver. I don't think he's that anymore. So wherever he goes, and you saw the report that if he doesn't go to a contender, he's going to start trouble. Honestly, I don't know how you take a guy like this. I mean, I would have to be very desperate to sign Odell Beckham Jr., in my opinion. So anybody take it. What do you think about that?
I don't agree with you 100% on him being washed up. I think that if you went to an offense like a Kansas City where they improvise all the time, because you heard that thing about him running his own routes, right?
Yeah.
If you went to an offense where they improvise all the time, like Kansas City, where Patrick Mahomes is back there running and trying to find somebody and throwing it 50 yards down the field, I think you would see him not be top 5, but you'd see him in contention for top 10 receiver, or you'd see him put up a lot of stats. I don't think that if he went to another offense like a Green Bay where he has Devontae Adams, even though that would take pressure off him, I still don't think it would help him out very much. But I don't know. I don't think he's washed, but I don't think he's what he used to be.
In order for him to get 10 catches for 100 and whatever yards, you're going to have to throw the ball to him 20 to 25 times and have him be the dedicated fucking receiver. You can't be in a Kevin Stefanski style offense where you saw 14 passes went to 8 different guys, and he's never going to be satisfied with that.
And to clarify real quick, when I say washed up, what I mean is he's not a number one anymore. He's not that elite number one.
Oh yeah, that
anymore.
I agree with. That I agree with. I do agree with I don't agree with the fact that I think he can still play.
Yeah, I think he could still play, but I mean, if you're expecting him to come in and catch a bunch of balls and a bunch of touchdowns, I mean, we saw him drop some very, very catchable balls.
He will never put up Stephon Diggs numbers.
Yes, exactly. That's kind of my point with Odell Beckham. And honestly, I feel really bad for whichever team ends up picking him up because we know how this goes. We did it. The fans are going to act like they're going to win the Super Bowl because Odell Beckham Jr. is on your team. That was the thing for me. It wasn't necessarily his play. It was, I cannot believe, and Jeff, we talked about it, I can't believe that the Browns got a guy like this. And I think that's another thing, living off of your name. So, but Jeff, what do you think about Odell Beckham and him going forward here?
Well, of course, he makes things ever more difficult as they need to be, which I think that was the sentiment for sure in the media, was that he wasn't comfortable in Cleveland. Whatever. That is so weird to me, but that's just how some of these professional athletes are. It's cold during football season. Like, okay, welcome to, how football was born, basically, especially up north. So does Green Bay make sense to me? On paper, it does, but I don't think it works. I mean, he's going to be in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I don't see how that's any better than Cleveland. I think, if you see the Arizona, the stats from the Arizona game where Green Bay beat Arizona on the road, they rushed the ball 31 times. So, they have 2 competent running backs over there. And I don't think that is necessarily a pass-heavy offense. Of course, having Aaron Rodgers is very helpful. But I agree with the Kansas City point that if he's gonna go somewhere, I'd be like, give me somewhere where the quarterback's gonna throw 40 times a game. I think that the Rams make sense. But for the situation at hand, I think if the Packers really do believe Aaron Rodgers is walking, you might as well take a flyer on him and see if you could just do something for the end of this year if you think that you're going to probably not have OBJ for next year and have Aaron Rodgers for next year either. Seattle's interesting, but again, it's Seattle.
I left this as a comment on the Rich Eisen show. I so hope he goes to fucking Green Bay, and I want to see the look on Aaron Rodgers' face after the 5th or 6th pass that he throws to Odell Beckham gets goes boing off his hands and straight into a fucking defensive back's hands and goes the other goddamn way. I can't
Yeah.
wait to fucking see the Antichrist fucking face when that happens. And
Yeah.
the level of derision that he will direct at Beckham for fucking up his goddamn stats like that.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. I feel like I hope he goes, and that's why I don't want him to go to the Patriots. Because if he goes to the Patriots, he's Mac Jones is not in the position where he can look at Odell Beckham and say, "No, that was your fault." He needs to go to a quarterback who's been a vet in the NFL for a long time, who can look at him and say, "Hey, bud, it's not me, it's you." Because I feel like Baker was the easiest scapegoat of all time because everybody loves to blame Baker for everything. And, it's easy for OBJ
So
to do that.
one team I'm surprised we haven't heard anything about is Minnesota. Like, if I'm being honest, you'd think that that would be an opportunity that he would take up, knowing that they have Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen.
It's a
Like,
system.
yeah, I know. It's just like I don't understand why he wouldn't want to go over there.
Well,
If I were him,
he doesn't want to go to a system where running the football is the number one, you know, strategy or scheme for the offense. He wants
And the
to go.
tight ends are the primary receiver.
Yeah, he wants to go to a place where he can be the most involved and he can get his targets. But yeah, so anyway, we'll see. Again, I just feel bad for the fan base of whoever he ends up going to. But yeah, so anyway, any of you guys have any other questions or anything you want to talk about before we end here?
when's JOK supposed to come off IR? Anyone know?
No, that's still up in the air. And
I
Chris Brown?
technically eligible this week, I think, but he has the high ankle, right? Which high ankles are probably all different, but Jerry Jeudy, I think it took 6 or 7 weeks for Jerry Jeudy to come back from a high ankle.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, he's a troll. He was in my comments on some other video. I don't even care. I just laugh at it because it's funny to me.
Can I just pimp slap him for a minute? Hey,
If you
Chris
want.
Brown, why don't you go around and slap? Are you done slapping the shit out of fucking Rihanna now? Or is that still a thing? Seriously,
You know what the saddest thing about
when
this
was
is?
the last fucking song that you had that did anything?
Hey, Brian.
10 years ago?
Brian,
Oh,
I got news for you.
I know it's a fucking troll. I know
I
it's
know.
not the real Chris
No.
Brown. But I
I'm
want
just
to
saying.
punch him in the fucking balls. I want to Johnny Cage this guy so fucking hard, his nuts will pop.
All right. Let me just say this. And I'm sorry to mute you, but I'm just laughing because this guy has been in my comments all day. Funniest thing is, and this is the last time I'm going to address him. This is probably somebody who's about, 56 years old, still lives with his mom, who's probably about 72, that kind of thing. But I don't care. But anyway, and if you say that I'm the worst
Biased. You
Browns
said you're the
fan
most
ever.
biased. Like, yeah.
Hey, if I'm the worst Browns fan ever, then I would be. First of all, you don't live in LA, and I would say it to your face. I'd pimp slap you as well. How about you come to Columbus, Ohio, bro? But anyway, so I forgot what I was gonna say, but anyway, anybody else have any Brown stuff before we wrap up?
One more thing, and I don't know if y'all talked about this or not. Besides Dearness Johnson and like, what's gonna go on this weekend? Any predictions? How are the running game backs gonna turn out? What y'all think?
Say that again. I just completely missed your question.
Do you think the running backs will be fine this weekend? And also, like, predictions with Nick Chubb and Dimitri being on COVID, having COVID.
We talked about it a little bit. I really don't know. It's going to be interesting because obviously we're going to have to pass more. I think Dearness is going to do, what he does. I think he'll do a good job. But my question is, where do you see this offense schematically going? Because the offense is so built around the run game. How is Kevin Stefanski going to adjust when you don't have the run game that you do.
Yeah,
know?
I trust Baker a lot more now, though. I'm not gonna lie.
It's going to be exactly what you saw against the Bengals. It's going to be spreading the ball out to it and hitting the open guy, not just focused on, well, I have to go to this guy because reasons.
Yeah.
So you're actually going to see the same kind of deal, and they may come out and it'll be just like the fucking Tennessee game, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. But still, I mean, I think it's just kind of a weird situation because again, as you were saying, Jeff, it's a mental thing, it's a psychological thing, and now that that's gone, and it's that's what I talked about in the Bengals game last year. It's like literally as soon as Odell Beckham gets hurt, 21 straight 5 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? Like, how is that such a big thing, And it is an indictment on Baker to an extent that he lets a receiver get in his head that much. But now that that's gone, you're seeing that gunslinger, let it rip, Oklahoma Sooner Baker Mayfield back. And, now that they're going to have to open up the pass game a little bit more, I don't know how much more, but yeah, to your point, Brian, the Tennessee game, I think might be a kind of game plan, if you will, for what the Browns are going to try to do. Play aggressive defensively, try to get to the rookie quarterback. Here's something. Chubb, Felton still have 5 tests before the game. If they are asymptomatic, it's not impossible they don't play. So, or impossible that they play. So, yeah, I forget whoever brought that up, but yeah, who knows? I guess we'll see. But it'll be interesting either
They
way.
have to
So,
have 2 consecutive negative tests, 24 hours apart. And
yep.
today is Tuesday.
Yeah. And I think it was Jeff that said it. We did get lucky with it being Tuesday, so but anyway, I think that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up. So nice nice thing, quick, spontaneous live stream here. So oh hey, Max Ninkolenko, or however you say it. Thank you, sir, for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. I know some people just love to gloss over that, but anytime you're donating is very appreciated from me, and I don't want to understate that. So I want you to know I appreciate it. He says, as long as the run game puts up heavy yards and TDs, Baker will never get the credit for leading the team. Here's what I'll say to that. I want to agree. I see what you're saying, and I definitely do agree to an extent. But I think in order for Baker to get credit for leading the team, the offense is not – it's going to have to be the offense built around, more of a heavy pass game, if I'm being honest with you. I think given the offense how it is now, kind of like Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, and I wish Tony was on here, but go ahead, Brian.
Well, I was just going to say, if you put I told somebody on one of the other broadcasts, one of the national feeds, if you put Baker Mayfield in Sean Payton's system, he would thrive.
Agreed.
I
completely agree.
If you have that pass heavy first offense, he could do that job. This is not the offense for quarterback play, to throw for 500 yards and go 32 of 38 with 19 touchdowns and, all this other bullshit. He's not in an offense that will do that.
Yeah.
So
And
to Max's point, yes, that's exactly right. This is a run first team.
But at the same time, I feel like it's what it should be. Not to say that Baker can't do it. I think that's kind of the point here. Baker can lead you passing the football, in my opinion. And he says, but that's how Stefanski's offense is set, run heavy, supplemented by passes. Yes. I think that the offense should be built around the run game. And again, I've been saying this, that I feel like the offense you saw against the Steelers in the playoffs is the offense the Browns should run. It was a pretty, I don't want to say equal, but maybe it was like 45 to 50% run and pass. And I think it balanced perfectly in that game. So, in my opinion, I think that's how the offense should be run. Um, but us four here are not calling the shots in Cleveland. But I feel like as time goes on, you're not going to be able to keep the offensive line the way it is. You're not going to be able to have the great running backs for a long, long time. They're going to slowly, work him in passing the football more, in my opinion. But we'll see. What's it say? Most 500-yard games are because you get deep in the hole early. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what you see from the Cowboys. Dak Prescott is somebody who, in the Broncos game, you get down big, and then in garbage time, you put up big stats, you know? But yeah, to this point, and it's sad that many fans and media choose not to see that. I completely agree. I think you saw that a lot this past week with the whole Odell Beckham thing. So many people want to blame Baker, um, but it's not always black and white, And so many people said that how in the world can the Browns be better without a good wide receiver in OBJ? And the one thing I always said was it's not that the Browns are necessarily better without. Your quarterback is better without. And when your quarterback's better without, the team is better without. So it's not exactly black and white with that issue. One thing plus
Well,
another
the whole
thing.
team was pissed off, and they took it out on the fucking Bengals.
Oh, yeah, and I think you're going to see that going forward. I mean, let OBJ sign to the Patriots this week. He won't play Sunday, but, I mean, they'll send a message. They definitely will. But, yeah, hey, Jeff, I know we talked about this a lot, but why don't you just go ahead and share kind of what we talked about with this whole Baker thing?
What do you mean, money-wise?
No, I mean the way the offense runs and Baker, and his potential, I guess you could say.
Well, yeah, I think it's pretty. I think just looking at the box score really does help. I mean, you can't ask him to be much more efficient than he was on Sunday against the Bengals, but 21 attempts, 14 completions, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's all you need from the guy when we have Nick Chubb running for 140 yards with 2 scores. So it's one of those things where, and I think that this is true for 90% of the quarterbacks in the league outside of the elites, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, for sure, Tom Brady, and, probably guys like Russell Wilson. The more passing attempts you see from them, the worse off that they are. I mean, I think that the Cowboys have really dialed that in with Dak Prescott. Sure, they could throw the ball 40 or 45 times a game, but your winning percentage is probably going to be higher when you keep Zeke and Tony Pollard involved, and you only throw the ball 25 times a game. So I think that that's what has been so impressive about Joe Burrow so far this year, is that he's had a lot of volume, it seems like, and he's been performing well for the most part as far as completions and touchdowns. But then you see his interceptions are, leading the league. So I think Baker is more common to, 90% of the quarterbacks in the league than a lot of people would like to leave on. And he's definitely not going to scale to being, super efficient through 45 or 50 pass attempts.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And it's
I think
amazing that even though he is leading the league in interceptions, you never hear about Joe Burrow, the turnover machine. But God damn it, if fucking Baker Mayfield throws one fucking pick.
Wait, let me get this straight. Joe Burrow is leading the league in ints.
Yep.
Yeah, but
I did not know that.
He has 20
I did not know that.
touchdowns too, so it's like, I mean, his ratio is still similar to people like Baker. I mean, I'm pretty sure Baker is 8-3, and he has 2 fumbles. So I mean, his ratios are similar, but obviously with more volume.
Yep. And Max drops another super chat again. Greatly appreciate it. He says, in my opinion, in the next 3 years, Kevin will heavily build his team through the draft. I completely agree. I think as long as Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are together, which I think we all pretty much agree, hopefully will be a long time. I think that this team is going to be built kind of how you've seen it be built the last 2 years now. Um, drafting guys in the top couple rounds to really play key parts. Greg Newsome, JOK, and then go get guys in free agency, on these 1-year deals. I think this is something we're gonna see for a long time, and it's frustrating. Again, we talked about it earlier. It's frustrating when you don't necessarily know who's going to be here and who won't be here. But again, I think that's kind of how the team's going to be. When was OBJ ever good for us? The one game against the Cowboys. Yeah.
And the one Bengals game.
Yeah. And here we have Odell Beckham Jr. in the chat. You can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes right now. Yeah. I love trolls. I just laugh. People troll to try to get to you. I just laugh. I think it's hilarious. Baker Mayfield was the problem. Get me the ball in Green Bay. First of all, you're not even in Green Bay. This is not OBJ, obviously, people, but still, I think it's hilarious. But anyway, Max says, agreed. Joe Burrow and other brand name QBs will never get as much hate as Baker does. I've said this many times. The reason why Baker gets the hate that he does is because he was the number 1 overall pick and because people were wrong about Baker being the number 1 overall pick. So listen, people don't want to be wrong, and when they are wrong, they decide to hate that person, and so Baker will always be rooted against. So, and his personality doesn't help him. But I mean, listen, the guy is a talented quarterback. He's got probably top 3 in arm strength in the NFL right now, quarterback wise, if not top 5. When he's at his best, he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. And the other stuff has been improved. The footwork, people say he can't read defenses. Well, like I said, go watch the quarterback school. Brian, you posted his name. I already forgot it. Go watch him break it down. He
JT
reads
O'Sullivan.
defenses. Yep, and he reads them.
He was for those who don't know him, he was a career backup. He had a few starts for injured quarterbacks, but like most backup quarterbacks, really does know his shit about offense and how to run them and what to look for.
Yeah. Right here, agreed. Burrow was the first overall pick, gets nothing but love, and his arms average. Now, here's the thing with that, and this is kind of my point here. Joe Burrow was the number 1 overall pick, but you knew he was going to be the number 1 overall pick. Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 overall pick, and you knew that. Kyler Murray. Baker was kind of the odd man out in the situation that we haven't seen in a while, and I think we might see that this year, maybe. I don't know.
The coastal media said, "it's going to be Darnold," or
Yep.
even Mary Kay Cabbage for Brains had Darnold penciled in as the number 1 pick.
And Sam Darnold always has sucked. And I honestly, you know what? People ask me the question of why do you like Baker so much? Why do you always defend Baker? I tell you what. You know what made me, what made me fully be on the Baker train here? And I've, even before this happened, I knew he was a good player.
When
But
he
what
stood up at the podium and said, "I am the guy that can do something good in Cleveland and turn that franchise around."
that wasn't it for me. But in college, I watched Baker before this, and I know people will make fun of me for saying this, but the Ohio State game where Baker Mayfield came into Columbus, Ohio, and embarrassed
I was
the
at this
Buckeyes.
game. I was at that game.
When he did that, I was like, okay, this guy, like, not that I'm a Buckeye fan and go to Ohio State. It's not that. It's not that. It's he came in and dominated what at that time was a really good or elite defense. Like, I mean, he embarrassed us. Like, consistently embarrassed us. And Urban Meyer said it.
Yeah,
He's the
Cam
best
Hayward was on that defense, folks.
He's
They had some high draft picks on the Buckeyes.
I forgot what I was saying. But anyway, so yeah, so when Baker did that, and then he planted the flag, of course I hated him then, but in the back of my mind, I was like, this guy's different. This guy is special. And then I kind of watched him through the rest of the year, won the Heisman. And then I watched the Ohio State Buckeyes, the same team that Baker dominated in Columbus in prime time. I watched them face Sam Darnold in a bowl game. And I watched and I compared. You know what the difference was? Baker was elite. He made plays. He was special. Sam Darnold sucked against Ohio State. And I know that sounds stupid to say that I wasn't just judging the two based on how they played against Ohio State, but being that that's the closest thing to me,
Well, the other thing
that's
with Darnold is that whole season he had either threw interceptions or he had a critical fumble that cost USC games.
yeah, exactly. And I never really understood the whole Darnold hype because I felt like I thought he would be a
Oh, the
decent
Josh
quarterback.
or the Josh Rosen thing. Rosenstein,
See,
have a bagel.
I thought Rosen would be good, and I'll fully admit that. I
There are
did think
9
he was gonna be
mistakes in
good.
front of me.
Yeah, that was interesting, but I
And
did
that
think
was
Rosen would be good, but
remember that was Mark's pick.
well,
He wanted the Browns to take fucking Josh Rosen.
yeah, I mean, it's a good thing we did take Baker number 1 because my thing was, and I say this all the time, but I will literally never forget my whole life. I'll never forget this. Draft night, I'm at work. My boss comes in and we're talking about it, and I said, "You know what? I don't think the Browns will do it, but you know who they should take number 1 is Baker Mayfield. They should take him number 1." Now, what I thought was, I thought maybe they would go Barkley at 1 and then take a Rosen at 4 was what I thought could happen. Obviously, thank God that didn't happen, but um, Harbaugh dragging talent down, it's a value or yeah, talking about DPJ. Um, yeah, Donovan Peoples-Jones, man. You know, I hate to sound like the guy who's sitting here saying, "Yeah, I knew this guy was going to be a good player." But back to the Ohio State thing, there was one player that I was always afraid of for Michigan during his time, and that was him. Because he just consistently made the big plays. So, um, but yeah, and Rosen was too full of himself. Yeah, it happens, and it'll happen in every quarterback draft. There will be guys who everybody thinks is the next big thing. They'll take him way too high, and he'll suck. And then you'll have situations where guys will go lower, and they'll turn out maybe to be something better. It happens, but you know,
Well, and you had to have a very specific style of offense for catered to Josh Rosen, and that was not the Cleveland Browns offense. And all of the shit that has gone down in Cleveland since Baker was drafted, none of those other guys would have been, and not even Josh Allen. Josh Allen would have ended up back on his California fucking farm. Okay. Nobody had the mental fortitude of a Baker Mayfield to not only withstand that, but thrive.
yeah. And that's the thing that gets understated. Baker is not the reason why he's lasted this long is because when situations like this come up, Hugh Jackson is your coach. You get drafted number 1 overall, and he embarrasses you on Hard Knocks and says, "Hey, congratulations, Baker. You've won the backup job." Baker from that day was like, "All right, that's what you think of me. Okay." From there on, you see what happens. And then the whole Freddie Kitchens thing was a disaster, and people blame him. They hired Kevin Stefanski, and he proves people wrong then. And now the Odell Beckham stuff. It's like this is what Baker does when people talk bad about him. There's a reason why you go on Twitter and you go through Baker's liked tweets. So many of them are talking bad about him. He thrives off of it because in his head, He believes in himself. He knows who he is. He doesn't have any personal issues of, believing in himself. It's the opposite. He knows who he is and all that. But yeah, and Josh Allen could have come in, and that's the thing. Lamar couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Josh Allen couldn't hit the broadside of a barn before the draft. These guys went to the right systems and developed. Okay? It happens. It's easy to
And
say.
they had offensive coordinators who catered to what they do the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Lamar Jackson runs the shit out of the ball. Okay, well then we're gonna design runs and we're gonna get the best offensive line scheme that we can to block the shit out of people so that you can fucking go out and do what you do and set the world on fire through running the football.
Okay, to your point here, DM, Josh Allen and Lamar would have been fine. No, they wouldn't.
No.
You gotta
No.
you gotta understand the history of the Cleveland Browns, okay? And what this comment tells me is you don't know the Browns, because Josh Allen would not have been put in a good situation. Lamar Jackson would not have been put in an offense where they get the best out of him. These guys would have had to come in and play whatever garbage Hugh Jackson wanted them to play. Same thing with Todd Haley. This whole thing of, if you picked if you picked Josh Allen, if you pick Lamar, yeah, in hindsight, if you could have, put the perfect system around these guys, sure. Josh Allen, yeah, he's got probably the strongest arm in the NFL. That's great. But you know what? In Cleveland, they wouldn't have used him in that way. Lamar's the same thing. They would have used Lamar as if he was a normal quarterback. I mean, it's so easy for for these Twitter GMs to say, hey, I would have picked Lamar Jackson. Well, yeah, there's a reason why he fell to 32. And there's a reason why Josh Allen fell to 9 wherever he was picked. So,
by the way, that was a flyer pick of Ozzie Newsome, who was retiring. They couldn't fire him for making a bad pick.
He swung for the fences with his last big pick. That's what it was. I mean, if the Ravens, I sound like Joe Biden there. Good Lord. If the Ravens thought that I'll probably get kicked off YouTube for saying that, whatever. If the Ravens if the Ravens thought that Lamar Jackson would become what he has become, they would not have waited to 32. I got news for you. That was a flyer pick. That was a swing for the fences. Take a chance on a guy who's very athletic. So yeah. 21 DB of Ohio State. Denzel Ward. Yeah. I don't know if Baker's playing top 15. Well, probably top 15, but he's definitely got the potential. And Jeff, that's one of the things we talked about, or at least I said, was I think Baker still has the potential. And, I think that's what matters. Still got the arm talent, still has the accuracy. That's what matters to me. And another thing, nobody had Josh Allen and Lamar at the top of the draft. Had the Bills, yeah, exactly. Had the Bills and the Ravens been at the top, they would not have picked Allen or Lamar. I think Allen, probably, because if you'll remember, he had some rumblings of being, an option. But at the end of the day, you got to remember these franchises. Go ahead, Brian.
The Bills were always going to take Josh Allen.
Yeah, but you got to remember, at the end of the day, these franchises don't want to be embarrassed, right? So the New York Jets sit there at 3, and this guy, by so many people, was projected to be the number 1 overall pick in Sam Darnold. They were going to take him because they knew if they passed up on him, they would constantly be criticized. And as dumb as that sounds, it's the reality. I mean, if the New York Giants thought that Sam Darnold was this incredible transcendent quarterback, they would have taken him at number 2. I understand Eli. They thought they could get a year or two out of him, and that's why they picked Barkley. But you got to understand the quarterback position. It's way more important.
And again, if you would have put Baker Mayfield on the Jets, they probably they probably would have gotten him fucking beaten out of the goddamn league by now because of how bad their line was.
Well, I don't know how much I agree with that. I get what you're saying, but I think the Jets and the Browns, when both quarterbacks were picked, had similar talent, in my opinion.
Hey, yo, Derek, I'm gonna go.
All right, see ya.
All right, bye, everybody. Have a good night.
See ya. And we'll
Say
wrap
it.
this up quick, um, but yeah, I mean, it's so easy to say you could have or should have picked this guy. I mean, you think that teams wouldn't pick Justin Fields higher right now if they knew this would happen? Yeah. Browns would have taken Darnold most likely if not for Baker, maybe Dorsey. I feel like honestly, I think Dorsey
Well, the
knew
problem
Darnold.
with Fields is they see what Dwayne Haskins had a fantastic year at Ohio State. What the hell happened to him when he got to fucking Washington? He fell flat on his goddamn face, and they were afraid that the Ohio State system would produce another craptastic professional quarterback.
Yeah. But my point there is, I mean, it's so easy in hindsight to say you should have taken this guy, you should have taken that guy. You know, that's kind of my point here. Fields is in the wrong system. I wonder, I really do wonder what's going to happen with Nagy because I think they will fire him. I really do. But who do they replace him with? You know, because Justin Fields is their future. I think that's pretty clear to see now. But the offensive line isn't great. You know, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, so but anyway, so anybody got anything else? Jeff, you got anything else?
No, this is a blast. You guys are hilarious. So chat's been fun. I'll hopefully be on for more of this.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, you know, I'm sorry this wasn't scheduled. You can ask Brian. I literally texted him about 2 minutes before I went live. I was like, "Hey, I'm bored. I want to, do this. If you want to jump on, jump
Yeah.
on."
So, and it's this unlike what we do on Moohead is less monologue and more interactive, where we can all share our opinions.
Yeah, and again, my goal here is to try to let everybody talk. I'm literally just trying to have a discussion here, almost a podcast format, but so I'm going to try to do more of these. I think my free subscription, if you will, ends tomorrow. I think this is the last day cuz it said one more free day. Maybe tomorrow's my last day, I don't know. But I think that I think I'm going to make the investment. I don't know how much it's going to cost. If it's super expensive, I won't, but I think I might make the investment and do this more. So yeah, hard to get a word in, and that's the thing. I know this is not a real big channel. But that's what I love is having these interactions. You get trolls like, some of the people you saw, but this is fun to me. This is how I've always made friends because I mean, it would be hard to tell.
It also the trolls also allow me to shed some of my anger and hatred over what happened in the various football games or whatever.
Yeah. And like I was saying, it might be hard to tell from some, for some of you guys, especially if you've never personally met me. I'm a very introverted person. I like to be left alone. I don't like to be in big groups. I don't really like parties. So this has kind of always been my thing, to meet people and try to get out of my shell to talk to people has always been using sports. And the Browns are a team that it's fun to talk about. And when you come from the bottom, and 1-31 is literally the bottom, and and even before then. But yeah, I like doing this, so I think we're gonna do this more. So Max says trolls are good, means you got interesting content. Never thought about it that way. I guess you could be right. Get Awesome Gaming says I get trolls on my gaming channel. Trolls are everywhere. Yep. Yeah, I mean that's
Remember the poor? I forget which. We were after one of the. It was during one of the post games when Mark let that guy on, and it was like 5 minutes of solid.
yeah. Hey, I'm surprised. This is because the last live we did, Brian, that's all that was popping up in the like to add people to the show. Obviously I didn't add them, but if you heard me stumble last show, it's because I was trying to think of what I was saying, and I'm looking down and I'm seeing, well, at one point there was some fat dude dressed as Mario shirtless dancing, and I'm not even joking, that actually happened. I was like, what in the world? But
Are you sure that wasn't Blobfish?
oh, I don't know. It was somebody.
Stephen Rose.
No, if it was Steven, he wouldn't have been dancing. He would have been eating on the show.
Yeah,
You
it's
guys are the Browns.
concoctions. If you ever want to vomit, just watch Stephen Rose eat on a live stream.
Hey, I jumped on his live one time. It was actually a pretty interesting conversation. It was right before the Browns-Texans game. But yeah. The Browns winning without Chubb, got a lot of money on him. Honestly, I would probably clearly you already put money on him. This is probably a game I would stay away from money-wise. But I'm confident that we're gonna win. What do you about you guys? Do you think we're gonna win?
Without Chubb, I don't like their chances just because they don't have anybody backing up Dearness Johnson this week. They don't have Felton backing him up. And Felton also makes some critical first down catches.
Sorry if you're hearing noise in the background. My mic just fell off of its thing, and I'm trying to put it on without making a bunch of noise. Whoops, just dropped my thing. Jeff, but anyway, what do you think about the Browns' chances of winning this game?
Yeah, it's going to be super difficult without Chubb. I think you're going to need Baker to play better than Mac Jones, and that's for sure if we're going to want to win this game. And you're going to need Stefanski to coach at par with Belichick, which is probably going to be the hardest part. If we get out coached, we're probably going to lose just because it's in Foxborough.
Yeah, I mean, whoops. Sorry, I'm trying.
It's proven that you're going to have to play the refs and the opposition too. So
right.
There we go. Sorry for the background noise, people. This is not a professional show. My mic literally. Here, story time. So these mics, the Shure mics. If you watch Joe Rogan, it's the mics that he uses is the one I bought. Spent a ton of money invested in it, and it comes with a bigger pop filter, right? And I've never wanted to use it, but for whatever reason, I wanted to use it. Well, I decided to take the stupid thing apart, and I didn't realize I didn't have to. And now all the screws and washers and stuff aren't in their proper place, so I got to figure out how to put that back together. But now this stupid thing keeps falling off. But so yeah, sorry for the background noise. Like Pat McAfee says, this show stinks. Same thing over here. More Browns news you put out there regularly, more subs you get. Honestly, I really don't, I know people will say that they don't care about the views or the subs, but I really don't. To me, it's more about the discussion. If I had 10 people and those 10 people wanted to talk, you know what I mean? Back and forth in the comments, that's more what I care about. I mean, this show sucks. If you go back and you watch my early videos, I mean, it's the most embarrassing thing. It's horrible, but yeah, he says I'm not a Mac Jones as a threat guy. I don't know if he's a threat, more of he's not going to lose them the game. I think
he's playing in the system that suits his skill set.
Yep. That's
and the Browns' defensive line needs to, especially Myles Garrett, needs to be damn careful sacking that son of a bitch because he will try to break his ankle.
Yeah, that is crazy. How does he not get disciplined harder
So
on that?
Mac Jones is getting a reputation of being a dirty piece of shit.
Yeah, that is crazy. If you watch that video, it's very clear. They said he thought he had the ball. Yeah, whatever. He very clearly was upset that he got sacked or hit or whatever, reached out and full on just literally tried to break his ankle. Looked like Kurt Angle was out there playing for the Patriots. Yeah, Max says, I think the Browns have a real chance to win with the personnel if we play like we did in Kansas City. Mentality if there's nothing to lose. Well, yeah. Unfortunately, there is something to lose given where you're at in the season. 5-4, I believe we are. But
Yeah,
I
you
think,
don't want to be losing too many goddamn games to the Steelers and the fucking Ravens.
and the Patriots are one of these teams that you might be seeing, when it comes to playoff, and who gets in and who doesn't. These AFC teams. Going to Foxborough. I don't think they're bums without Brady, but they're definitely not the same. But we'll see. But
Let me remind you that they've won the last 2 weeks, Max. Okay, don't take this team lightly.
yeah, they're definitely better than you would think they should be. But again, they went out and spent a ton of money in free agency.
Something Belichick has never, ever, ever fucking done. And
Yeah.
he's treating Mac Jones like his son, unlike Tom Brady, who was like, why is this guy here?
Yeah. Well, I think Belichick, honestly, I think it's to the point where he understands that you can't treat I don't want to say you can't treat quarterbacks like that, but these guys coming out are treated like they are the next big thing from high school. And I think
Oh, it goes earlier than that, my friend.
Oh yeah.
It goes
Oh
down
yeah.
to Pop fucking Warner. They're starting that shit.
I mean, look at is it Arch Manning right now? Peyton's nephew, Peyton and Eli's nephew. I
Yeah.
mean, that kid is in high school, and I mean,
but he is ridiculously good.
Oh, I
my
know
God.
he is so good. But I'm just saying,
It's like he is like watching a white LeBron James in high school, playing
literally.
high school football. He can do whatever, make whatever goddamn throw. He makes a lot of the right reads at the right time. He's on time with the football. It's the amount of coaching that kid has had is redonkulous.
It's kind of
And
like
and it's
Trevor Lawrence
Cooper's
too.
kid. It's the one that fucking got injured and couldn't play football anymore.
Yeah.
That's his kid.
It's gonna be cool though to see another Manning in big time football. I will say that. Yeah.
Well, now instead of Daddy Manning, you're gonna have Grandpa Manning showing up and saying, "My grandkid's not gonna play for that fucking team."
Yeah.
Don't draft.
What class is he now? Is he a junior in high school?
I think he's a sophomore. He's
Sophomore.
only a sophomore. Last year he
my
was a
gosh.
freshman playing on the varsity squad.
So he's got so long to go. Wow, that's going to be crazy. I wonder where he's going to play college because he's not going to Tennessee. He's not going to Ole Miss.
Old-time hockey, Max?
At this point, I don't see him going to Clemson. I really don't. I mean,
no, he's gonna pick his own place. He's not gonna go. I don't think he's going to Alabama. He's definitely not going to Alabama.
you think?
No, I don't think that he would entertain that at all. He's going to go somewhere where he's going to be able to throw the football a lot. And he doesn't. Not only that, Nick Saban's the kind of guy. Look what he did with Tua. They would get up 51-0 in a half, and Tua didn't play third and fourth quarters very often. So,
Yeah. I really do wonder where he's going to go, though.
Max, that was a Slapshot reference. Classic hockey movie. You gotta go watch it. The Hanson brothers. They were the shit. And actual hockey players, by the way. They still show up for signings and stuff at these different conventions. 38. Man, I was in the 4th grade when you got fucking born. Or 5th grade.
Sheesh. Jeff, where do you think I almost said Burrow.
I'm dying over here. Where do I think little Manning's gonna go?
Yeah, I don't know why I keep thinking Burrow. I just see this white kid playing quarterback.
I don't know. He'll probably go to. I don't know. Does he care to go to a team that? Does he want to win a national championship? I don't know. Do any of these kids care anymore? They're all getting paid out of the ass for NIL.
Oh, that's a good point. I forgot about that.
Even whatever his face in Oklahoma, he's a millionaire. He's on the bench. Rattler.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a kid here in Columbus who's making $1 million, younger than me.
By the way, Rattler went to the same high school as my niece.
Where did Peyton go?
Tennessee? And went to and was in the same class. So,
yeah, that's crazy.
I don't
know. Yeah, we'll get to this here in a minute. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy how I really do want to start talking college football more on my channel, but it's crazy now because you have these situations.
I love college football.
Do you? All right.
My Saturdays watching fucking college football.
Hey, we could talk college football for another hour. I don't care. Rankings
no, not
just
tonight.
Oh, well.
Some other time we can talk college
football. Hold on, I'm gonna pull up the rankings here. Ohio State took the number 4 spot. So
we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, Michigan State. I said that too. I forget. I didn't say it. Yeah, I don't have it on the record, but I swear I said that Michigan State or Michigan, one of the two, is going to drop a game to a team they should beat. And look where it is. Purdue is dangerous, man. I tell you what, we play them this week.
They are fucking dangerous. They are giant killers.
We play them this week, and I got PTSD from
20. Rondale Moore.
Yeah, 20.
Running all over the goddamn field, uncovered.
Was that 18 we played Purdue? Got destroyed?
No, I think that was 19. 2019.
19? Oh, that was horrible. We can go through
because Moore got drafted in 2020. So it was 2019 when he would just literally a bunghole fucking Beavis at quarterback fucking destroyed Ohio State's defense, throwing the ball all over the goddamn field, and they couldn't do a fucking thing. And it was one of those brain fart Urban Meyer losses that you're like, how can you possibly? You're a 31-point fucking favorite, and you can't put any goddamn points on the board. What the fuck is going on?
Urban always had that for no reason.
And Ryan Day is continuing that. The Oregon goddamn game this year. Yeah. So hopefully,
wasn't as bad, but still, yeah. We can we'll wrap up with our score predictions because I know we've been going for about 2 hours here. I was literally planning on talking 30 minutes, so you see how this gets out of hand quick. But we'll go through the rankings for college football. Just came out. Georgia 1, Bama 2, Oregon 3, Ohio State 4, Cincinnati 5, Michigan goes up to number 6, Michigan State 7, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Oklahoma State. So again, Oregon, I don't know, I guess we'll see with Oregon.
They earned their spot.
They did. Cincinnati is still getting disrespected. I mean, not that they necessarily have a spot right now in the top 4, but I'm surprised Michigan State didn't drop lower than 7. I expected them to be more of the 10, 11, 12 side of things on that, but anyway. So, all right, we'll get to our score predictions first. Jeff, you can go first. What do you think for Sunday?
Oh, geez. I don't know. Hopefully the weather's good, but it's probably going to be freezing over there because it always is in November. I'm going to say, I'm going to say either way, if Chubb plays or does not play, I'm going to say we win. Another statement game, another basically must win considering we're both 5-4, and the tiebreaker is going to be the winner of this game for a wild card spot, which is annoying in week 10. But I'm going to say we win 28-24 Browns.
28-24, that was Max's prediction as well. Perfect.
Oh, nice.
Brian, what do you think?
Without Chubb, I got the Pats winning 23-16. With Nick Chubb, I think they're going to really, they can really put a hurting on them. I think it's going to be like 31-17.
Yeah, you're thinking kind of how I'm thinking. Honestly, I think with or with, it sounds horrible to say because I mean Chubb's got such big value on this team, but honestly, I think that Baker will answer with a heavier pass game on his plate. I think Browns win. I'll say
Hunt is
30.
Hunt has not cleared from or been released from injured reserve, so he will not
Yeah.
be playing against the Patriots.
Yeah. I
Max.
think I'm going to go 31 Browns, Patriots
24.
No, I'm thinking 17. I think the
Oh,
defense
yeah.
is really going to show up. I really do.
Well, and I think the possessions are going to be the biggest thing.
Yeah.
They're going to take away enough possessions from the Patriots and keep sustained drives going.
Yeah, I know I said we'd wrap up with this, but let me finish it off with this point here. Dan Orlovsky made a point on Monday saying that not only is Baker a better quarterback without OBJ, but Kevin Stefanski is a better play caller without OBJ. That kind of blew my mind because, I mean, we've talked about this so much, I never really thought about it that way. But Sunday was the first time where I really felt like, hey, I was happy with Kevin Stefanski's play calling because I've been banging the table on Alex Van Pelt to call plays. What do you guys think about that? You think Stefanski's better without OBJ?
Well, I think that a lot of the play calls there's always a decoy route, and a lot of the time he was using Beckham as a decoy route, and then just because Baker is loyal to his guys and wants to keep Beckham happy, he throws him the goddamn ball.
Yeah.
You know, that interception in Cincinnati, Beckham, the ball was supposed to go to the opposite side of the field, and Baker purposely threw the ball to him because he had single coverage, and he was never expecting the football. Just like the interception that Murray threw against the Packers in the end zone, AJ Green thought it was a run option or thought it was a running play and was blocking the whole time and didn't look for the football, didn't turn around at all.
Yeah.
So I think there were a lot of those types of deals going on that contributed to, the deflections for interceptions and trying to make these miraculous one-handed catches and dropping the football and that kind of stuff. Even when he was and the last route against the Steelers, he's double covered. Who the hell would throw him the fucking football but Baker Mayfield or maybe Eli Manning?
Yeah. Jeff, what do you think about that? What do you think about is Stefanski better without him?
I definitely think he's better without him. I think it's nearly insanity that it took us 10 weeks or 9 weeks to go for a deep bomb over the middle of the field to Donovan Peoples-Jones, which was something we knew he could do last year. I think either way, OBJ or not, I think Kevin holds some of the playbook in his hands, which I've never understood. But I do agree with you, Brian. I think that the decoy routes are always – I think there's always a decoy route. I think you hit that right, nail right on the head. And then there's a couple routes where you hear us running this rhythm and timing offense, and I'm like, I think Baker Mayfield's just more, seasoned than that. Like I feel like we call plays sometimes like he's still a rookie. Like this is 4th year in the league. That one play to DPJ on the sidelines where it was incomplete, where he dove and he caught it out of bounds. That was the only read for that play. Like that play was only designed for that. I think Harrison Bryant was open underneath too. And it's like, there's some plays where it's like snap the ball, Baker's looking, firing. And like, that's your only option for that play, which I'm not a huge fan of.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's little things like that kind of blow my mind because again, we have this discussion so much about who's to blame. And it's like all of a sudden, OBJ's gone and what do you know? The pass game opens up. It's like, okay, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense necessarily, but when Orlovsky said that, it kind of blew my mind because I was like, wait a minute. He's right. Like, I don't remember yelling about Kevin Stefanski's play calling other than a couple, maybe, let's see, that one play, and Brian, I know you remember to, what was it? Chubb to, no, was it Landry to Chubb where he went to the outside, try to pitch it to him? Yeah, it was Landry to Chubb. Yeah. Aside from all that, I thought it was pretty good, but, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, everybody, I know this was kind of out of nowhere, but thanks for joining us again. Max, thank you so much for the super chat. Good to have you on, Jeff. Talking to you as always. Brian, thanks for coming on again. Get back to your family feud. So,
not mine.
well, yeah, that's right. But yeah, like I said, we'll do this more. I might sit down and think about a schedule when to do it. But yeah, just like you said in the chat right here, about 2 hours, planned on 30, 40 minutes. So, basically got a radio show going here. But need to get some sponsors up in this chat. Might need to reach out to my friends at the Dogs podcast.
Well, that's what the super chats are for. That's what the super chats are for.
Yeah. I mean,
even the categories.
Yeah, there you go. Stamp of approval. Jeff, tell Justin get him on here next time.
Yeah, weeknights are pretty good for him, I think, most nights. So we could get him involved.
Tell him you got a bunch of idiots over here talking about stupid stuff. He'll love to join. So. But anyway, all right, everybody, I'm gonna end this. So, all right, I'll let y'all know when there's another one. I'll try to get it scheduled beforehand so y'all know. So, all right, have a good night, everybody.
All right, take it easy, guys.